was that what the county was going to fund with a half-cent tax was gonna be a third of, the cost, and the other third was gonna come from the feds, the other third was gonna come from the state, at least in respect to the bridge. The state, that never came until SB1 came through, the feds never showed up. Not even when we went to do our lobbying, with, the president of that time,
Right.
who talked about infrastructure is gonna fund it, did nothing, but the state came through with SB1.
Yeah, so it's just, you know, there's a lot of shifting of things that need to be done, and I think it's really important, we have allocated for these 3 projects here, and they're in motion. And now we're gonna stop the horse, and I work with the railroad, and there's a railroad that goes through Reedley, and I know the frustration of the staff to work with the railroad. They're God, and, you know,
I just wanna say
it's just really difficult. So it's real important to me that we finish these projects, and I see these 4 projects down here, and I think these are all important too. And I'm hoping that the staff has worked with the mayors and the cities in these areas, that these are still priority, and that we do those, and then see where the money comes, what's left, and then we gotta make a decision again.
I just like to second the comments, from the mayor, from Firebaugh. What he said is, I think, something that should be inscribed, in all of us, staff included, in terms of being diligent ahead of time, so that we're not in this situation, right? Because, I mean, that's why we're here. Let's be, you know, let's be pensive and sensitive to the needs of the areas that don't have the ability many times to garner the same amount of support. And I mean, right now, this is a good period for us to kind of show some love.
Okay, we have one more, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Let me understand, the projects that you're proposing meet the 2 criteria, 1 related to the voter approved tier 1, tier 2, and 2, facilitate regional connectivity to Interstate 5.
Yes.
Because of those 2, you came up with these 4. And so with regards to the deferring, I just want to be clear, does it still have to have those 2 criteria, or is it just a safety first? Because those are 2 different criteria. So this money, the voters voted with clear guidelines. And if this board is gonna amend, you know, the clear guidelines, what is that? Because if it's not on there, so if it is, I'm fine with it too. I support it, but as long as we understand that, we communicate that clearly to the voters, that voters, you gave these criteria, but this board is gonna abandon those, and we're just gonna go with highest safety first in our west side. Because I think it's not that the staff did not consider it. There are certain items in the rural communities that did not meet these 2 criteria. That's why they were not here. So I just want to understand, is that correct?
I think you're correct. We brought the recommendation to you because they fit the criteria. We didn't set aside a pot for the rural west side cities because that criteria didn't exist yet. The enabling legislation allows you, the COG board, to amend the expenditure plan. The only direction they give you is that you have to consider the projects promised to the voters in 2006 first. It doesn't say you can't change your mind because situations change. You can change your mind, but it says you have to consider the promises to the voters in 2006. And I think that's what I'm recommending here, is that we go ahead, fulfill our promise to the voters to have a regional connection to I-5, and then if this board decides that they want to set aside the remaining funds after the program starts winding down and we know where our costs are going to be a little bit better, that is at your discretion.
If I may clarify, for Firebaugh, both of the additional projects that I'm talking about or speaking to have to do with connectivity to I-5. They just happen to also be a safety issue. They actually are an intersection to 33.
Same thing with 33 on.
So what I'm getting at is that in 2008, these projects that I'm talking about weren't even discussed. So there's no way they can be in tier 1 or tier 2 because they weren't even in the conversation at the time. Now what I'm saying is that there are projects that possibly San Joaquin, possibly Huron have now that will fit your tier 1, tier 2, and connectivity I-5 as well as the safety, is what I'm saying. I'm not trying to give you projects that are in the middle of town. I'm
Right.
trying to give you projects that are right off of the 33 that are also happen to be a very dangerous intersection where, the trailer court kids are trying to cross the 4 lanes of 33 to get to school. So that's what I'm saying, is again, I'm not trying to break the rules of your tier 1, tier 2, as well as Interstate 5 connectivity. What I'm saying is, the projects I'm talking about did not exist at that time. We're doing projects that were good at that time, which is great. We want to continue with them, but we also have needs that still meet those criteria. What I'm saying is that we motion to do the projects that you stated, but also in that amendment, amend that to any additional, after those 4 projects, we come back and talk about it.
Exactly.
That's it, not do the east side projects first, anything.
Is that a motion, Mayor?
Wait a minute.
Hold
Let
on.
him let him finish, yeah.
So, that's gonna be my motion, guys, and I hope that we get support it, because we can come back and talk about the overage, but the entire overage. Not after we do the other projects first, whatever's left after these 4 that are listed here, which I'm in favor of, because we all know they're very, very much important. But after that, let's come back here and talk about it. Let's come back and talk about it, let's let the west side put some projects in, let's look at what you guys got going, and then we go from there, because my project may be only $2 million. I don't know that, I can't tell you. And then there's still maybe overages from the west side projects that can go and fix that. We're doing it backwards, I think, so thank you.
The wild card here is that these projects don't have any cost estimates, they don't have a definite scope yet. It's gonna take time to develop the cost estimates and the scope, and while we're doing that, these projects that are on the pipeline could be proceeding through. Okay? Because these projects, we got the best estimates we could from Caltrans today, but there's no guarantee that by the time we get these projects developed, it takes a long time to do this. I've been doing this for 38 years? And it takes a long time to do this. And by the time we get these projects developed and ready to go, these projects themselves